Meeting to order, if I could. And Glenn, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any public comments? Seeing none, we are supposed to have a person that is going to talk to us about the BEAS, and she's not here yet, so when she arrives, we will interrupt what we're doing and listen to that presentation so that we have the information as to why things are going up and up in that area. So, Carol, would you like to, I'm sorry, Representative Crawford, would you, let's go first. Would you like to start with the sheriff?
All right. We met, I gave you all a copy of our minutes of the 17th of February. They were short and sweet. We only met for about an hour and a half, and went over a few things on the sheriff and dispatch budget. I made some notes. I think we really should meet one more time to go over just one or two things. We did cut out a couple of, I shouldn't say cut out, we decreased the sheriff's line in, let's see, by $5,000 in line, my notes here. Grant salary 002, because the sheriffs no longer do the drug task force, and the remaining $5,000 in that line will go for speed grants and commercial details. The other section that we decreased was, one second. We reduced the overtime budget on line 005 by $5,000, and now it is, I believe, $35,000. The sheriff thought he could live with that. And reduce the education and conference budget by $1,000 to make that $5,000. I don't know if anyone has any questions about the budget as a whole for the sheriff's department. I mean, I have a lot of information. I don't know if you want me to go through the whole budget, because we still have some questions as a committee on cruisers, the 2 new cruisers that they want to purchase.
Are those purchase or lease?
They're purchase, is that correct? We think we really need some discussion, a little more discussion with the sheriff about the 2 cruisers and the use of all the cruisers. So we'd like to meet one more time and come back and then finalize the budget. And then the grant, of course, you know that the $900,000 home security grant is not in the budget because that will not be issued, or we won't hear anything about that until the end of March. So we did not include it in the budget at all.
Okay, good. There was $300,000 in the budget, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. What page was that on, does anybody?
Let's see, I have page 8. Or page 8 or 9 of my sheet here. I'll go one more, hold on. Actually, in no, it's in grants on page 10, 096, we only have $1 in there,
Okay.
right?
That was where the grant.
The 900,000 that we talked about.
Okay.
In dispatch. We have $1 also in dispatch from line 96. It's still $1 because of the unknown.
Okay.
But if it's all right with the delegation, if we meet one more time, and then come back with a final total.
Okay. Mr. Jailer.
Well, thank you, Madam Chairperson. I think everyone got my last set of minutes, I hope. And at least you should have gotten them electronically. What we did there is I had some questions which were basically answered, and we had questioned, I think, about 4 lines here. But let me start with the biggest one, I suppose, and that would be on your revenue sheets here. And what we're looking to do is on line 39, we're going to change that heading to work release / AHC, and the AHC stands for Administrative Home Confinement. And we're going to put $20,000 of revenue on that line. And what that is when we were reviewing the budget, we found that on the expense side, there was an entry of, I believe it was $12,000 on expense, and there was no corresponding line on the revenue side for the bracelets. Superintendent Johnson, under a changed RSA, has the authority to, on his own, to get more folks on the bracelet program, which, though correspondingly there's some increase in expenses, there's also quite a jump in revenue. So that's the one change we're going to make.
Okay, that's on,
That would be on page 2 of revenue, Karen.
and it's currently at 0.
Currently it's 0. And they're going to change the definition there to from work release to work release / AHC, and that stands for Administrative Home Confinement.
Okay. And they pay for that?
They do.
Okay.
In fact, is my good superintendent here? Could you just elaborate on that for a second for the benefit of the delegation?
Yes, Representative. We pay about $35 a week for the monitoring service, and then in turn, the offenders pay the county $70 a week. So we make $35 a week on the monitoring service.
Okay. And how many people do we currently have on that?
Presently, we have 6 out.
6. Okay. Are there any other questions on that program? Okay.
we had questioned on the committee, under the inmate programs, line 28, from actual spent at year-end 2013 to requested budget of 17.5, I thought was a significant increase. However, it is consistent with what was spent in 2012, and Superintendent Johnson had forwarded a memo to me, which I guess you don't have, as to what they're looking to do on the offender program, which would be consistent with the 2012 year. I'm somewhat convinced. I'm convinced that it's kind of money well spent. If we can reduce the prisoner count by 1 or 2, there's a benefit to the educational program, which, like I say, it appears that 2013 was an anomaly more than anything else as to what we didn't spend, and it's somewhat consistent with 2013. And what they're going to do here is Norman Human Services will be teaching a class. There's also going to be a mental health line, a component of that. So basically, I think his explanation is satisfactory, and I would recommend that we continue with that amount of money on the offender education line.
This is inmate programs, is it?
Yes.
Can someone tell me the average length of stay for someone at the county jail?
60,
I can, but he,
62?
Yeah, this is the average daily population, Commissioner, she's asking for that average length of stay. I remember the annual report, I think our average is between 60 and 90 days.
60, sure.
on line 52, uniform expense. And he's looking to go full up, but we're gonna reduce that line. We're gonna recommend a reduction in that line from $9,300 to $8,000. That would be a reduction of $1,300. On the, on line 73, which is vehicle expense,
I thought you had something on electronic monitoring as well.
so I went,
I thought you had something on, I thought you were reducing the electronic monitoring.
no, that 12 is valid.
Okay,
When we looked at that, Madam Chair, there was the expense line, but there was no corresponding revenue side to that. But that's the difference we made.
so,
And again, under that RSA that he now has the authority, he expects to have more people out on the administrative home confinement.
okay.
So we have expense, but we have revenue also, more revenue.
I was just looking at it from the point of view that it's double what it was last year, roughly.
Yeah. And the reason it's going to double, and don't let me put words in your mouth, is that he expects it to double, because he's going to have the authority to get more people out on that, and that's a corresponding increase on the revenue side also. So
Thank you.
now all you got to do, Superintendent, is to get the money in. All you have to do now is get the revenue in. Should be, yeah.
Correct.
Our committee had questioned under line 73 vehicle expense, which was a pretty good jump here, almost doubling. And what that was as a result of the prisoner transport issue, which I understand that the sheriff is no longer going to do, and that the jail itself is going to do, if I'm reflecting on that correctly. As a committee, we had questioned whether that's a nice to do or a legal requirement to do. And I did get an explanation here, and apparently it's an RSA requirement here. It would be a one-time expense, and what this does is to, and I'll get into this in detail, of the vehicles here is to equip them with the blue light bars and some, I guess it's radio equipment and whatever, in order to satisfy RSA 30B, 25, and 26. And once that occurs, then it's fine. Of that $14,000 on the line, however, I believe that it is not appropriate to have all $14,000 on that line. I think that money probably should be reflected, or some of that money, on the new equipment line, or perhaps the capital line. And Superintendent Johnson was going to pursue that with Kathy to see what would be a more appropriate line on that. And I'm still not sure what line would be appropriate.
Can someone explain, I have two questions, I guess. Where do you transport people to?
We transport to other facilities, ma'am. We also do transports to doctors' offices, hospitals, and things of that nature.
So, when you say two other facilities, I'm just trying to come to grips with this. I mean, do you,
We transport to, like if we do an administrative transfer to another county department of corrections, we do that transport. The only transports that we don't handle is the ones to court. Other than that, or if the person's convicted and sentenced to the prison, the sheriff's office transports them to the prison.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we're going to pay to have one of your cars equipped with blue lights, and is that what that is?
We have 3 transport vehicles.
You have, but the equipment, that is to equip those vehicles with blue lights and,
Yes, ma'am.
okay, so, and that's an RSA that says that the prison has to have their seal and they have to transport with blue lights. Even though we have 14 cruisers for the sheriff's department to use. I don't get that.
Under
Sorry.
the new statute, B25 and B26 that
Mhm.
Representative Schmidt has spoken of, it gives us the authority, basically gives us peace officer status for transporting offenders in our custody. We have a situation where emergency.
I think that,
Sheriff didn't want to do it.
that this needs to go back to the sheriff, and the jail person can meet and figure out what we're going to do. We're not going to solve the problem or the discussion right here.
Okay.
And so I would ask that we take a look at it. And I will make one other comment. I realize that the courthouse is very close to our jail, but there is video teleconferencing available. And so my question is that we should not have to transport anyone between the jail and the courthouse. I mean, maybe occasionally you would have to, but on a regular basis, it should all be done by the video teleconferencing. And that is annoying me because I was the sponsor of the bill to get that done. And so that's one of the reasons why it is annoying me, because it requires people to sit over at the courthouse when they could possibly be doing something else. So I don't know what the problem, we should have minimal transportation between the jail and the courthouse. And that was a long struggle to get that through. So please, I ask just that get looked at as well, because we're tying up people that could be doing something else. So enough of my annoyance. Okay, thank you. Is there anything?
Yeah, just lastly, not reflected on the revenue side, but it appears that the hurdles that were preventing us from taking in, let's say, federal prisoners have been overcome. The superintendent has the expectation that we will have, at a minimum, probably within the next 5 or 6 weeks, at least 2 federal prisoners, with a corresponding increase on the revenue side. My take on that is that any prisoner is a plus to the county because our fixed costs are our fixed costs, and any additional prisoner would be helpful in terms of benefiting the county revenue side. Superintendent Johnson has agreed to keep our little subcommittee updated on that. He has met with the federal marshal, and it appears that we will be moving ahead with that. So I think that's a plus, and that should be a good thing. Yes, sir.
Representative Chandler?
Yeah, thank you. I just had a question. Some time ago, when we were let down the primrose path about building the new jail and the promise that we wouldn't need any extra people, I noticed there's 2 more people this year. Do you have any comment on extra hires over there, or?
Yeah, I don't think they're extra hires. I think he's now at full strength, I believe, from your allotted head count.
With this.
Yeah, and he can,
With this round, we'll bring us up to what the program, when we built the facility, what the program suggested that we have for staffing. That'll give us 35 staff members total.
My
Go
my
ahead.
question is, you're hiring 2 more people this year,
Yes, sir.
whether, whatever level, someone dreamed we were supposed to be at. You're hiring 2 new people
Correct.
in this area, in this type of an economy. Thank you.
You got a question?
Yeah, well, let me just follow up on that if I might. If we're hiring 2 new people, one would suggest that our overtime budget should probably go down further than the 10,000 it went down. We got 80 more hours, it should reduce our overtime. Yes, Mr. Representative Allen.
One, if we're hiring 2 more people now and we start bringing in federal business, do we need to hire more people to take care of them? Number one, and the second thing is there any limitation on the types of prisoners that they're gonna get here? For example, could we get a terrorist from Afghanistan sent here, or is there anything, I mean, that's a little bit out, but is there any limitation on what crime level is that they would send here?
Representative, to answer your first question, no, we would not have to add any more staffing if we take on additional federal inmates. In regards to the question regarding the types of offenders that we would get from the feds, but no, we wouldn't be getting any type of terrorists. The high-level security offenders that the feds hold would be kept in a facility that meets that classification standard. This would be U.S. Marshal holds for local federal crimes that happen in the state of New Hampshire.
Yeah, thank you.
Would it be classified as minimum security?
I would say probably medium, because it would be pre-child defendants.
Okay, thank you. Anything else from the jail? Yes?
Thank you, Madam Chair. 2 questions. One, last year, I believe there was something like $38,000 in the budget for security cameras. And I'm just wondering where that was in the budget last year, and if that line has been reduced this year by that amount.
I think
That
the
was
sec-
under capital,
That was under capital?
yeah.
Okay.
One more?
There had been discussion previously about some federal rape prevention program audit and the need to budget money in case there was an audit, because we would have to pay for it. Is there anything like that in here?
No. There's a bill currently to change the population for adult to 18, and
Right.
that takes
Yep.
care of it,
Okay.
I believe.
So
right?
Commissioners, there's no money in here, there's not $10,000 in here for that audit, possible audit.
We put it in the 029 line, other fees and services, it's a component of that 57,000. In regards to the age, ma'am, that just takes care of a component of the PREA standards, moving the age, the sight and sound separation, 17-year-old offenders. That's just one component of the PREA standards.
What else is in there that's going to,
There is about, I want to say about 115 standards that we need to meet.
where did you say that was? I'm sorry.
The 027 line, 029, I apologize, the other fees and services. There'll be a component of that. I know right now Stratford County is sending one of their employees to become an audit certified, and then the goal is to be able to share that resource throughout the entire state, rather than bringing in somebody from outside the state of New Hampshire. That was something that was talked about at the last executive committee meeting.
Yes.
So this is a Stratford County employee who would be going around and doing the audits,
Yes, sir.
and we have to pay them $10,000 to do that for us?
I don't know what.
We don't know what that's gonna be.
What the cost would be.
If we had somebody from California, we would have a tremendous bill.
Do we know that that is going to be done in our facility this year?
And under the guidelines, it's a requirement that it gets done.
And that's a federal guideline you're talking about? Right, so we have that in writing someplace?
It's under the PREA standards, yes.
Okay.
Representative Nelson?
How long would the average stay for a federal resident be for somebody coming in? Do you have any idea?
I couldn't answer that. Pretrial detainees, so it's however long the judge would hold them before sentencing or adjudication.
Yes.
On your electric expense, I just see a discrepancy in what the subcommittee recommended, what the commissioners asked for, what was budgeted. Is there a reason? I know electric, I understand the ups and downs of that, but there's two different that I have. 74,000 is recommended by the commissioners and 90,000 by the subcommittee.
Yeah, they asked for that increase. And we had discussed this in terms of those, let's say, county administrative lines of which we have no control over. Which, as an example, I had asked Commissioner Babson, who was looking to increase the fuel line, that instead of piecemealing this, why don't you come back with a total county overview of what you expect your fuel cost to be. Discuss that today, and then we'll go from there. As long as I'm on my soapbox, when I always look at these budget lines that are interspersed with discretionary and non-discretionary, I would love to see these separated so we can concentrate on what we actually can do something about, as opposed to those lines that we have absolutely no control over. So if that helps to answer your question, but on the electric line, the heat line, all of those lines, I think they should be addressed uniformly across the county to the commissioners.
And I just have one. The, on firearms training and equipment, on 97, is it, there's zero, am I looking at, I'm always confused.
What line are you on, Karen?
I'm on, I always have to look down because
97.
it goes down one, 97. 0000, and then all of a sudden 7,000. So we've never put any money towards that, and then all of a sudden we are. Am I looking at the right one?
Mm-hmm.
Can I answer that, Representative?
Sure.
Okay. You'll notice, Representative Crawford, that the commissioners under 097 had a budget of $13,025. And then what we did, we never had a firearms training and equipment line, so we created that new line, which we're explaining several zeros prior to. And then the 275 is split, and then the other, the 097 is now 5,750. So we just bifurcated those lines out.
Separated them out.
So, new equipment and firearms training is kind of
Yes, ma'am.
together. Okay, thank you.
Yep, just a second here, I need to think.
Go ahead. I was just wondering if we could get a breakdown of that other fees and services line for 57,000. What else besides the audit is included in that?
What line are you on?
I'm sorry,
30.
29 or, yeah,
No,
29?
30.
Or 30?
The 029 line covers maintenance contracts, attorney fees, the law library, the audits.
I think that what he's asking for is if you would email to the delegation
Sure, okay.
how it's broken out,
Absolutely.
or email it to Representative Schmidt, and he can send it to us. Anything else? Okay.
Just the bottom line, Madam Chair, is the adopted budget on 2013 was $3,381,263, and this proposed budget, and this is without taking into account the reduction of $1,300, or perhaps on that 14,000 line, but I think that's going to be allocated somewhat differently when we get into it. It's basically 3,272,400, so it's down roughly about 108,000. It's kind of a flat budget this year, if you will. So, somewhat flat, anyway. As opposed to being obese.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so.
Okay. Representative McConkey.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The subcommittee has met on the following: Registry of Deeds, Cooperative Extension, Attorney, Medical Referee, Child Advocacy, Farm, Maintenance, Sewer, Water, RSVP, Visiting Nurse, Home Care and Hospice of Carroll County, Carroll County Conservation, and Carroll County Transportation. We have reached agreement on several and happy to answer any questions. Before I do, I'd like to commend the Registry of Deeds once again. They operated a good part of the year without one person over there filling in and taking over those responsibilities in-house by the rest of the ladies, which resulted in a savings of nearly $40,000. So, spirit of cooperation, I just wanted to compliment there. The following budget requests were passed by the subcommittee and done so unanimously. Registry of Deeds, $551,274, which reflects also a slight increase in income to match that. Cooperative Extension at $229,000.
Which page are we on? Just a second.
I'm sorry.
18.
Cooperative Extension at $229,259. The attorney budget, which is on line 5 of my book, at the Commissioner's request, $489,781.
What page is that?
Page 5, I show it as. Medical referee,
So,
which,
just a second.
yes,
So there was no change in the,
there's no change on these items from the Commissioner's budget.
okay.
Some questions by by Commissioner Babson on the medical referee, which I'd like to get together with you on, because I guess there's some uncertainty on what the level of fees are and so forth. The request was $14,400, which is medical referee is on
Page 11.
11-ish.
Yeah. Okay.
Child Advocacy Center at $50,000, which I believe is under
Regional appropriation.
regional appropriations, which should be on 18. And the regional appropriations, with the exception of the visiting nurses, are all level funding requests from last year. RSVP, regional appropriation, should be same page, $40,000. The visiting nurse, home care and hospice of Carroll County, should be the same page, $75,000. It is an increase of $5,000 over last year's request. Their request for a number of years had always been level funded, and the reason we were given was that some of their funding had been reduced from other areas, and we're looking to make up that $5,000. It was passed unanimously. Carroll County Conservation District, same page, $39,425. Carroll County Transportation, request for advertising was approved for $2,000. The Sewer Department, Commissioner's request, which is on a separate page, page 14.
Ish.
Maybe 15, page 15. Request for $46,103 was also approved. The committee had questions on the farm budget and maintenance budget and water budget, had submitted some questions to the commissioners, and so action has not been taken on those items. I believe that's the only outstanding issues subcommittee has at this time.
Okay, what about water?
Water was one of those items that we passed on, but there were some questions.
Okay, okay. Just let me make a comment on the maintenance area.
So,
Since the nursing home is an enterprise fund and should be paid for as a result of income, that we had a discussion on Monday that perhaps the charge for maintenance should, the nursing home should pay for maintenance.
okay.
Okay, because it's this enterprise fund and everything that is related to it should be charged to it. So, I know Chris isn't here. I guess he's hiding someplace. But, we felt that as we were looking at and discussing it, that, it didn't seem appropriate that the taxpayers should pick up the maintenance costs for the nursing home. Although we pick up, anything that's left over, but still, when we come to setting the rates and charges for the nursing home, that should be in there.
We'll take that in consideration.
So that was something that we need to, get
Good.
the nursing home straightened around with. And we also had that same discussion on the taxes. And we're going to talk about taxes later on, but there's some amount of money that are in the tax area for the nursing home. Okay. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Thank you. I have a question for Registry of Deeds. I received a copy of a letter that you sent out to all towns about copying the deeds and putting the watermark on the actual deeds when you send them to the towns, the big watermark that it's. And I just have a question on, you were saying it's a revenue loss for the county. Could you tell me how much you're losing?
We have no idea how much people are selling. That's why the subject came up, and it came up statewide, it's
Mhm.
not just this county.
I'll speak to that.
And for my understanding.
Speak up, please.
The registries that are online, they've had a watermark put on as a precaution. But if you have an account, you get a clear copy. If you're scraping or whatever they want to use for terminology online, then you were getting one with a watermark. People were attempting to use those as exhibits. It is, we make an awful lot of money on copies.
I can see your revenue.
I cannot judge how long this practice has been going on, nor can I have any idea how much that amounts to. I don't like to do it to be, you know,
No, I'm not,
it's protective.
I understand
And
that.
Mr. Representative Chandler and I have already had a discussion about it, and I will get back to him on some things,
Mhm.
but the statute, as it reads in the Registry of Deeds statute, says supplying those copies of conveyances to the towns for tax purposes.
Right.
So,
My concern is a 91A issue when people come to ask for a copy. I'm speaking for the town of Moultonborough.
Sure.
You know, when they ask for a copy, giving them a copy is for $1. I mean, the income for the town of Moultonborough is like $246 for making copies of the deed for people who are requesting it.
well, I don't
So-
know what they're requesting it for, so I have no control over that.
Yeah, I guess the watermark is pretty offensive. It's like straight across the
But it
document.
does not obliterate the text. We worked on that very hard and long with the
Mhm.
software company to make sure that it would not obliterate what anybody was trying to read. All it does is, there's other things that enter into this.
Mhm.
When we take in a deed, not so much now, but in years past, there would be other comments might have been put on the margins of those deeds, which would refer people to something else, whether it was a mortgage that now has a discharge.
Mhm.
We stopped that practice of marginaling discharges back in, I think, 91 or 92. But I'm saying there are other things on the official document that stays here that isn't on the initial document when the property gets transferred. So if somebody is thinking they're getting the official copy, when they get it from the town, that may or may not look like the one that's in the Registry of Deeds. That was the major concern.
So when someone comes for a copy on a 91A, I'm sorry, I should have.
I don't, could you explain to me what the 91A is?
Right to your, right to know.
Right to know.
Oh, the right to know.
Mhm. And you're saying that if this was to be, then how would we be able to give a copy?
Is it part of your record, or is it part of your,
Well, the 91A
Is
is
it
every
part of
citizen
ours?
has the right to inspect all government records in their possession, custody, or control of such public bodies and to copy the records so inspected except as otherwise prohibited by statute or RSA 91A.
I will bring that back to the Registers Association, and, you know, maybe it was more of a, I don't want to say a knee-jerk reaction, but when it became obvious to the other registers how much revenue they were losing, and that we are supposed to be, that is our purpose, to be the official holder of the record, that the copies we were supplying was so that you would have to have somebody from the towns come here and check to see what kind of transfers have been made. But it's been built into the system that as part of our responsibility to the towns, we would send them copies. Now,
Right.
some towns only get deeds, some towns want copies of mortgages. We've reduced the amount of what we send to people because mortgages have gone from being 1 or 2 page documents to being 26 pages. So we give them the front page, the pertinent tax information of the description of the property and the amounts, so that they have that for their record if they so desire. I don't know, are you putting those in their files?
I'm
and
not,
are
I'm
those
not
part of the
sure. I
record?
have a meeting with the town administrator, so I will find out exactly. I know it's on their agenda.
Okay.
Representative Chandler?
Yes, I did discuss this, so I wasn't gonna bring this up today, but since it's already come up, because I found this very concerning. And quite honestly, the Register of Deeds does not have any authority to do this. It is very clear. The statute says you shall send them to a town, shall send them to any town that requests them, to the selectmen of any town and the assessors of each city. It doesn't say anything about for tax purposes.
The heading on that statute says for tax purposes. I'll go down and get it for you.
It says copies of conveyances for tax purposes, and then the statute goes on to say what shall happen. Doesn't say anything about the town not being able to sell it. For instance, we charge $3 for a copy in Bartlett. We're gonna go, since you have issued this, we're gonna go up, just to tell you, we can do whatever we want. I mean, and clearly this is offensive because it does obliterate the language when someone comes in to get a copy of their deed.
You can't
That's
read
not what
that?
they're looking for, trust me.
You cannot read that?
I can read that very clearly, town copy not for resale, but I can't read what's under it in all cases, and especially one, and I realize in a whole word, one letter sometimes might not make a difference. But when you've got meets and bounds, just one number that you can't see makes a huge difference.
And there was careful consideration made to just how gray that could be, because you can remove, by scanning, a light gray, you can remove it right from the copy.
Right.
So it was done with,
Well, something's gonna have to happen very quickly. There's gonna be very serious
I will
ramifications about this,
I will
seriously,
be on
because
the
it's just,
phone to
you
the
can't do
president of
it.
our association by the end of this meeting.
I would,
It was not, the intention was not to inflame, I'm sorry.
well, it did. I would like to ask the subcommittee on, with Register of Deeds,
Yes.
to meet and discuss this. And do you have anyone on your committee that's a selectman?
No. I have a question. if I may.
Wait, just a minute. Nobody on your committee is a selectman?
No, we don't.
Representative Merrow, do you think that when he calls the meeting that you could come over?
Let me know.
I assume you got a copy of this?
But I have a good question.
All right, that's fine. Just, if you would, because I think that obviously we need someone that represents the town to,
I won't be
Discuss this.
representing the town after next week.
I know, but you are. But just, or if someone else wants to come over, that's certainly agreeable. But I would agree that this is, in my opinion, pretty offensive. The more I looked at it, the more upset I got, but anyhow. So, yes, you may have that.
I have a question.
Yes, Representative
This is
Merrill.
a question from you.
It is a letter.
You, I think I understood you to say that the copy that you send to the town might not be correct because there might be some additions and so forth on the copies you
If
had. And I
somebody
don't
were-
quite understand that since it's coming from you.
In years past,
Yeah.
we don't have
Speak
that.
up, Ian.
Yeah, I'm sorry. In years past, and I don't say that we have had hardly any occasion to do it recently, there would be marginal notations put on the sides of deeds. So if somebody was coming in and looking for their deed from 91, 92 and back, they may have a deed that doesn't have what's on the official record here, such as for an affidavit, see such and such, for boundary line agreement, see such and such book and page. Marginal notations on mortgages for discharge for assignment of those documents, so that your clean copy that you would have got initially would not match what is on the official record.
All right, we can, I
Okay,
would,
wasn't aware of that.
yeah, I would ask Representative McConkey to tackle that discussion. Okay? So, Ed, do you feel comfortable talking about the
No, because I was at the last subcommittee. Maybe Representative Nielsen.
Oh, okay, yeah, just a moment, yes.
I have a form question, if I might, Madam Chair. I was going over the minutes from the last commissioners' meeting, and there seemed to be discussion about wood to be purchased from 2013 surplus. Maybe if you could expand on that a little bit?
I don't understand the question. What is your question, Reverend?
Well, there seems to be the move to purchase wood from surplus revenues from last year to be used with the wood processor.
Okay.
Is that, am I understanding the minutes correctly?
Yes.
I would just refer back to our delegation approval in June of last year of the purchase of the wood processor. And if I could read from the delegate convention motion, Representative Butler makes a motion to approve the proposal to lease purchase the new wood processor for $9,500 a year for 5 years with a 1-year buyout, et cetera. The Representative Morrow amended by indicating that the wood processed must come from county land or already purchased, and going forward that only wood harvested from our county be used. So I don't understand, based on the delegation's approval of the purchase of the wood processor, this move to purchase additional wood from surplus monies.
Thank you very much, Representative Cordelli, for your research, and I am sure that Representative McConkey will take care of that. So that gives us 60,000 more to add to our surplus. Thank you. Okay, Representative Nelson, you're ready to talk about the nursing home?
Yes, we met on February 17th.
Okay, let me get to that. Go ahead.
And I had to leave early, so maybe Mr. McConkey can finish this up. But overall, we reviewed the budget as a whole. The heated issue ended up being over the fuel issue in regards to the Laundry Old Nursing Home and new facility. The contracted price of the LP gas, as of now, is a set price over the delivered price or at the end of the pipeline. And the fluctuation of that rate has significantly gone up, and that shows an increase in the budget for that. Alternate fuel sources and methods of delivery to the buildings were discussed. To my knowledge, no conclusions were made. And maybe Mr. McConkey, the representative, could.
That's my understanding also.
Anything else?
No.
Okay, so is that saying that the budget that is presented by the nursing home
No.
is,
No. Will we meet again?
you're gonna meet again?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yes.
Thank you, Chair. It's my understanding that last year the nursing home purchased a new electronic medical record system called ProShare for in the neighborhood of $57,000. I'm just wondering where that was in the budget in 2013, and if that same line has been reduced by a corresponding amount for 2014.
I can't answer that.
We can find that out. Good answer.
Okay. All right. Yes.
Does that same subcommittee deal with food services?
Mhm.
If I could just ask about that. Also, I took great interest in watching the video of part of the commissioners' meeting also, and there was a lengthy discussion about free meals at the cafe and food services. There was discussion about who gets free meals, corrections, farm personnel, but also it seemed the cafe seemed to be giving out free meals on a regular basis, and the food service director even indicated that he tries to keep the prices down to encourage people to pay for food. And I am at a loss as to what the policy is about who gets free meals, when. We don't even get scones to buy over here anymore, so I don't know what's going on.
Representative McConkey, I think, is best to begin that answer.
Thank you. We've also heard from Representative Merrill about the scone incident here. So there is some merit to that missing.
We were assured.
Merrill Merit?
Yes.
We were assured Representative Cordelli and I were assured that we would have blueberry scones for this morning by the nursing home administrator and the food service
The
person.
morning's not over.
Oh, thank you, Jean.
So they're doing lunch instead.
And so,
Is that a free meal?
no,
it's not.
because we pay for it.
You pay for it?
Yes, we
Yes.
do.
Okay.
And so I am,
Well, the absence is obvious, so either they're hiding at this moment or baking, one of the two. And I'll come back. I just wanted to follow up. And there is a displeasure in food service that they're providing those. Not only is it a cost, it's an amount of effort that goes into that. And it was a hope. My understanding is the only people who are getting free meals at this point in time are union contracts that require that to happen. And food service is trying to keep that free meal or encouraging that free meal to be coming off the steam table to keep that cost down. But they're certainly hoping that that would be a practice that would end, and we're hoping that that would happen in the next round of union contracts, if that answers your question.
Representative Schmidt, you haven't spoken, so since
Just
the
a
jail.
comment, the old saying, there's no such thing as a free lunch.
Yeah.
However, if the county policy is to give out free meals, those free meals really have to be counted as part of your compensation package and accounted for accordingly, and I don't think that's happening either. So you can't have it both ways. You gotta do one or the other.
Representative
Yeah,
Merrill.
I just want to bring this up, and I think Representative McConkey has it on his list, but I want to make sure because it's been bugging me. When we, one of the things that we got was a budget sheet of the cafe operations, and it had an income which was balanced with the expenditure. And one of the things they said in the income, and it's still bugging me, is sales, free meals, foregone revenue, and they counted they added $95,703 as income, which to me, that's an expense unless they transferred the money from somewhere else to make it up, and I don't know that they have, and I think we need to look into that, because there's no way that that's gonna balance. That 95,000 should be down in expense unless they've got it somewhere else. I don't understand what's happening there. We need to get that straightened out.
Okay. Representative Cordelli.
Thank you. Just for the subcommittee, maybe when you do look into that further, if you could check and see if there are non-union employees getting free meals, because it certainly seemed to be that way from the discussion on at the last commissioners meeting.
We have asked that question, and the answer was no. And relative, I'm sorry, can I?
Certainly.
Relative to the issue of the income line, the Director of Food Services is just trying to account for what he is having to expend in order to provide those free meals.
Could be
And
expensive.
the discussion has been had within the subcommittee as to why that line is there. It may be frustrating because that is a contractual requirement, but it does make sense from the food service perspective, I think, to understand what that cost is.
You haven't convinced me, but okay.
It's an expense.
Understood.
Not a revenue.
Understood.
Yes, Representative Lavender.
Would not free meals also be taxable income to the employees? And do we do that?
Of course not.
Just a matter of interest, we just got nailed at the town by the IRS, simply because.
Is that why you're leaving?
No,
Yeah,
no, no, but for example, some of the employees wear their uniforms when they're not working because the town provides uniforms. The IRS said if we did that, that has to be counted as income for them, for the employees, so we're gonna have to start doing all that kind of stuff, which we haven't done.
But, yes, the rules on that whole stuff changed maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, we just got caught, that's all.
So. And I heard the jail also got free meals? Union, and that's part of the contract?
It's my understanding it is.
Okay. All right. Did we get your question answered, Representative Lavender?
Sort of.
Sort of.
We'll take a look at that.
Anything else on the nursing home? Okay. All the other things. Kathy, you were going to put together an IT thing, and I know that's one of our topics here, but I wanted to look at that in relationship to everybody. Because this year we have IT within the individual budgets, and I think that next year we're going to go, except for the nursing home, into a individualized, a centralized IT account, so that we can sort of keep track of what's going on.
This is like a work in progress, as we spoke last Monday. If we pull out all the IT items from the budget and create its own little budget. And I think what we need to do is the IT committee needs to work with us too, because there was some discussion as what are we talking about for IT? Is it the equipment? Is it the IT? Should it include copiers? Should it include, other things? This is strictly, the computers, the IT contracts at this point. But as I said, it's a work in progress right now, as some suggestions. I did pull out the nursing home piece, and that's at the bottom, under MVC. And over in the right-hand column is how that 57,000, what it consists of from the nursing home.
Okay. And we all, I think, at least as we discussed it last Monday, agreed that this was a work in progress. And that this was just to give us some sort of idea what we are looking at for the county in relationship to IT. And we do expect the IT committee to help Kathy refine the areas that will be part of the IT budget. And if, based on what she said, this year, we are spending about $212,000 in the IT area. Yes, Representative.
Thank you, Chair. Just whenever I'd be interested in the nursing home line item for cabling, $12,000 for cabling. I'd be interested in what kind of cabling and the need for cabling that's going on over there in this new facility.
Yeah, I mean, this is
Right.
the budget numbers they gave me. And
Yeah.
they'd have, I think the committee could talk about
Could
that.
be.
Other things that, different department heads have a different philosophy as far as like equipment goes, like computers. Is it a replacement equipment or is it new equipment? Those sorts of things will have to be worked out within the committee, and training, and all of that. So this, like I said, is a work in progress, and
Right.
like servers are more of a capital thing, big servers in the buildings. It's, should that be in capital or should that be in this budget? At this point, we've put it into capital. So those sorts of things have to be
I think that,
questioned.
yeah, I
Worked
think
out.
this is a good start. and will assist us in our budgeting for next year, and will give us an idea, and I would agree that the 212,000 doesn't necessarily cover all of the IT that we are looking at, and so we're making progress, and I think that's what's important. And we're also we discussed with the commissioners, and they shook their head, that the IT committee has authority to do things, and with the final decision obviously made by the commissioners. But as far as the people that are on the committee, they have the authority to make the decisions, and so that we're not, you know, the division or departments or whatever need to appoint somebody that they feel is a good decision maker. And if that person isn't on the committee at this time, then they need to be changed out. But they will be a decision-making area. Okay, yes, Susan.
I need a little clarification. So the commissioners are going to make the final decision, and in that case, the IT committee would make the recommendations to the commissioners?
That's correct.
Thank you.
If I could just ask, at both the IT committee meeting we had maybe a month ago, and I think at our subcommittee meeting, there was discussion of a 5-year plan, and there was indication that there was a 5-year plan put together a while ago. I still haven't seen one. I don't know if anyone else has seen one. I don't know if the commissioners have seen one, but.
I never, no, I didn't. I mentioned it to John the other day because he has it, and he said he will get it to us.
He has it.
Okay.
From Cybertron.
Okay. All right. As far as the commissioners, the treasurers, all of that, we have not made any final decisions in relationship to the various budgets that we have. We're planning to meet at the end of this meeting to finalize where we stand and what's going on with that. So I will take any questions that anybody might have, and we'll try to answer them.
Which department, excuse me?
Yeah, Commissioner, Treasurer, Human Resources, you name it.
No, you name it. I'm not-
Yeah, Administration Building, Human Services Department,
I know they let, I think they
yeah,
let the
everything,
contract down.
interest expense, long-term debt, capital reserves, the Carroll County Convention, capital expenditures,
Okay, thank you.
okay? All those fun things. But I would ask you to please turn to the capital expenditures, which is someplace around page 20. It is on my page anyhow. And the capital expenditures, the sheriff and dispatch has been down to 1. The money in the information technology, if I remember correctly, was 2 servers for the jail. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and,
And the Doc Star,
oh, and the Doc Star,
yeah.
yes. Let's,
We're gonna have a dark star?
a Dark Star. I'll put it this way. We're probably going to reduce that to 34,000. We did have a presentation by its DOC Star, which is electronic filing of your data. You know, all the things that are, you know, all the pieces of paper. And it's basically a filing system. And it costs, what was it, $28,000. And then the fees to maintain it over time run around 10,000, roughly, you know, someplace along in there. So I think we need to, personally think that we need to do a little bit more preparation and thought process to be sure that everyone in the complex goes on to DocStar, if that's in fact the system that's chosen. And we, you know, there are many things, but we'll discuss more of that in our meeting. Go ahead.
If I just mention one additional thing, I think part of the thought process in that regard was that we were going to be doing a performance audit, hopefully sooner rather than later, and there might be adjustments in staffing, workflows, and so forth. So to proceed with an electronic document management system that would provide for workflows and things like that in the development of that system, it didn't make sense to proceed in that regard until we had implemented any possible recommendations of the performance audit that we see and agree on.
Okay, the capital expenditures for administration building. One was a new vacuum cleaner, right, Kathy?
Yeah, for new equipment is a vacuum.
Was that under the capital reserve?
No, that's under his budget.
Okay,
But
what's-
we have to talk about for his, is that backflow.
Okay, but what, oh, this was to repair, is this to,
This is the farm,
no.
the
20,000.
20,000.
Oh, I'm looking at the 5,000.
Oh, we took that out, that was for the, you said to take it out because that was for the safe?
Oh,
Right.
okay,
Because we had the safe?
all right,
Right.
okay, thank you. And the farm, the 20,000 was for a vehicle, plow vehicle?
It's Commissioner's recommendation, I believe, for a yard truck.
A yard truck, and the subcommittee agreed?
The subcommittee has not, the subcommittee has submitted 2 pages of questions.
Okay, so
We're-
that's.
We're not to that point.
Okay. And the information technology I have talked about already. And that was it on the capital expenditures. We do have under administration a problem with our backflow device for this building.
We don't have one right now, and we have to have one.
Okay, we don't have one.
And I guess there was a new regulation that went
Well,
into effect.
It's, a backflow device prevents the sewer from backing up into the water system. And it's a required thing. I'm surprised that we haven't done that before.
It's fairly new, I believe.
Yeah,
no.
2000.
No. Backflow devices have been around for,
Oh, yes, they have, but the requirement to have it here, I believe, is new.
I don't know.
Okay.
I can't imagine it being new, but I do want to talk to, afterwards, both water and the administration people, because the water people should install it. It's my understanding of how that all works.
How much is it?
I think we're looking at, what was it?
20?
No, like 6,000
$6,000.
maximum.
So we'd have to go out to bid.
And what's what the problem we're having is?
There isn't one. It's not a question of, it's a question of safety for the water.
I'm sure that's a legal requirement.
I'm sure it is too. When I was working, we used to require those
When you
types of
build
things
them, but not,
constantly.
isn't this grandfathered?
No, I don't think
No.
so.
So would it be to prevent a problem, prevent contamination and disease?
Mhm.
Basically, just a double check valve, so the water can't come back.
So it can't go. Yes.
I guess my question is for Will. Did the requirement for this show up on your 5-year review of the water system by the state?
The best that I can answer the question, sir, is that in the past there was, as Representative Morrow said, about double checks came off of the boilers, and that was the level of protection that was required in the past. Within the last year to 2 years, it's now a PC something, if you can excuse my technical knowledge on that, but it's a bigger backflow preventer for the whole building. And it doesn't have anything to do with the wastewater, it has to do with the water department, and if a hydrant is open and the way the pressure comes out, it can flow out. So we've just been told about this in the last year to 2 years.
Yeah, you may.
Thank you. When the state came out, I'm assuming every 5 years they come out and go through your water system and so forth and write up if there's deficiencies or things that need to be done. Has this surfaced on any state document saying that we have a deficiency that needs to be corrected now? Or is this just we've come to understand it?
It's not that I'm aware of come up on any of those, because we haven't had, since we found out this information, we haven't had a review, because like you said, they come out every 4 or 5 years, and this information has come up since that block.
But we do need to, talk about this. We also recommended to the commissioners that they look at establishing an enterprise fund for the water department, because that is a pay-as-you-go kind of fund, and we are taking in money from off-premise, and the water bills should in fact pay for the improvements. And so we will continue to follow up on that. The taxpayers should not be paying for improvements to the town of Ossepee's water system.
But you should pay a share for whatever the portion of that improvement goes to the county.
I said, that's why you pay, that's why the county pays for the water, as well as the town. So,
Village.
whatever it is.
Village, yeah.
Not town.
Whatever it is, okay? But that should be part of
Great.
the water system, the, however much, whatever we couldn't figure out were the expenses on personnel between the farm maintenance and all that other kind of stuff. That's an issue really for you, Mark, because I think they said 15, 15, 50, and 20. And when we looked at the salary breakout, it wasn't based on that percentage. So whatever percentages,
Well, you're doing well to get percentages, so.
well, I mean, that's what we got.
Okay, we'll be happy to look into that.
So, it's a matter of, charging appropriately
Certainly.
for,
I do have, like, the salaries and then the breakout by department, the information for both of you,
okay.
so.
So just make sure that whatever it is, it's appropriate. Okay, yes,
When we're talking on the capital side, I just have an observation here, and I know we've talked about it before. I notice under the capital reserves, we have 0, 0, 0, 0, and more zeros. And could someone explain to me why that's the policy of this county when we have multiple thousands of dollars of equipment out there with a lifespan? And I think from a good accounting practice, we would like to eliminate those peaks and valleys when it comes to doing it. I don't understand why we don't do it.
Yes, we'll let,
Well, one thing is, we've had 16% increases every year without putting anything into a capital reserve fund. To put something in there, it's just gonna raise that up till we get a handle.
Well-
Maybe sometime in someone's lifetime here, we'll have a reasonable budget to the taxpayers of the county. When that time comes, then maybe we can work on establishing capital reserve funds to help those peaks and valleys. But right now, we've been in constant peaks. I'd like to see a valley.
Yeah.
okay, we also, yes,
So then, would this be a good time to contemplate a capital reserve plan?
one could suggest that the commissioners might think about that. Since we haven't seen one, it's hard to allocate money for it.
Madam Chairman, I'm not sure that that's fair. We have put money in the capital reserve, and as Representative Chandler has said, it was always taken out in the past.
Right, but we haven't seen a capital reserve plan for probably 5 or 6 years.
Well,
Last
based
year
on-
we came in for the farm truck.
Yeah, one truck is not a capital reserve plan.
Part of it.
I'm not arguing that it's not part of it, but it's not a plan. Okay, we also had a discussion on cell phones. And I think I sent this out to everybody. And we also discussed the possibility of the commissioners setting up some kind of a cell phone policy for the county. In that, you know, I don't think any of us were arguing that cell phones weren't essential. But we had all kinds of different reasons and different things for how we paid for them. And all that we were asking is that we have some sort of policy that sets up so that A, B, C, and D knows what the policy is. If it's the same across the county, fine. If it's different across the county, that's fine too. But we just need to have something as far as a policy is concerned. Yes,
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Could we get some guidance from the delegation on the policy? For instance, do we supply the phone and pay for it in its entirety? Do we supply the phone to some people and pay them a stipend?
Commissioner, I
How would you
think,
like us to go?
I think that's up to the three of you to come to grips with that. You know what the costs are, you know what the need is, certainly a lot better than I do.
Okay.
You know, that's Representative Butler.
Thank you. Are these cell phones, Commissioners, used only for work purposes?
Some are,
As far as we know.
no, that's not true.
what?
Because, that's not true. Because the attorney office is given a $20 stipend.
That's right.
To use their own phone, right?
Through the three allowances?
So,
So I guess to modify my question is, are the fully paid phones used only for work? Seems to me as though they should be.
that's a hard thing to say.
Question on the phone plan.
Yes,
On the phone plan, do you have, what kind of a plan do you have? They have unlimited
don't know.
time period on there? Is it a flat rate, or do they pay by call, or they limited to so many hours, or how does that work?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think that that's all part of what they need to figure out. You know, so that we have some sort of concept of our phones. Yes, Bill?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just curious too, if you could get an idea of how many minutes are used. It'd be cheaper to give everybody a track phone or something to that effect. So if you could somehow get an idea,
Yeah,
How
we
often
can get
is used?
that off the bills.
that would be helpful.
For the ones we fully pay, we get those.
Representative Cordelli.
Yes, as part of that process too, or the policy, I'd like to see the approval process. Who and how determines that a cell phone is needed by a particular individual? Because looking at the list, there's certainly some people on there that I would question whether they need a cell phone. They need to be reached 365.
Yes, Representative Crawford.
I just had a question, I don't know if Kathy can answer it or not, but I recalled back a little ways when I was a selectman in Moulton Borough, that if we partially paid for a cell phone, that the IRS was involved in that a little bit. Because it was maybe considered more like income for that person, so I think we stopped doing that because we didn't want to get audited by the IRS on that issue. So I think you should look at that.
Okay. All right, well anyhow, we'll let the commissioners worry about that, and I recognize that we won't have solutions by the end of the budget time, but it is something that we will expect. Yes.
I have a question, but I don't know
Certainly.
where to fit it in with, along the thing here. But at the last meeting, we asked if we could just get an update on what the current year's surplus was, because we had a difference of opinion. And
I think it was at the last meeting.
Surplus from last year's budget?
yeah, just
Yes.
Yeah.
the
Yeah, we had-
2013 budget.
So many sheets.
Okay, Kathy, we'll let you look at that,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
when you find it, just do something. Okay, next on the agenda is the discussion of non-union wages. I think I sent everybody a copy of this little chart, okay? That shows from 2009 to the recommended for 2014. 2009, they received 50 cents. 2010, they received 1%. 2011, they received 2%. 12, they received 30 cents. And 13, they received 40 cents. And the budget has projected a 40-cent increase for 2014. So, does anybody have any comments?
Well, because I'm not sure I understand this. When you say, like, for example, on 2014, a 40-cent increase for non-union, is that 40 cents for everybody, no matter what their basic salary is, they get a flat 40 cents period?
Yeah.
Or is that
Correct.
vary
Yeah.
depending upon the job?
I think I also sent you out, this.
I do have copies if anybody needs.
Okay, if you don't have this piece of paper, but I think I sent this out, it may have been,
So, spreadsheet, right?
yeah, it's a spreadsheet, it may have been a couple weeks ago that Kathy had provided this. But it shows,
Excuse me, Madam Chairman, we got different colored papers. Are you looking at the all non-union, is that what you have? Thank you.
and it's a 3-page thing that identifies, and for the majority of the people, at 40 cents an hour, it's $832 per person. And then you will notice the Human Resources Director is 1,000. The Human Services Generalist is 4160. The Working Supervisor Farm is 3,000. On the next page, we've got in the Dietary Department, Assistant Cook, Director at $665. The same thing for the administrative assistant, the registered nurse. A couple of them are getting increased beyond that. One RN supervisor is not receiving 40 cents an hour, according to this. Three of them are not, 4 of them are not. And the office assistant clerk is not. And the sheriff's department second in command is receiving less than, and I think that's because he works less than 40 hours a week. Okay, and that may be the reason why some of the others are not receiving that. But, I guess we have to ask ourselves, okay, is the 40 cents appropriate? And are I think that there, at least one, the human resources, the generalist at the 4160, is that contractual?
That one's not contractual,
Oh.
that was a change in status.
Oh, okay, that's the one that changes from hourly to salary. Okay. So,
She's putting in more time, we want to pay her overtime to make her salary.
I understand.
You paid it only one time overtime, don't you feel that?
Representative Cordelli.
Thank you. Just with that line, I understand that the logic was that to change it to salary so that we don't have overtime expense. But I'm not sure, looking at the 2013 budget, where there is overtime expense in the Human Services Department. There is no line item for overtime.
That's right.
So I don't know where that comes from or what the
And
amount
if
was.
we get
paid.
audited by the labor board, we're in trouble because of the overtime. She's working more time, but not getting paid for it. Okay? We would be in deep trouble.
It was bad practice
Okay.
on the part of the commissioners to tell her not to work more than 40 hours. Or to pay her overtime. That was the other option.
Well, I don't, may I?
Yes?
I don't think it is all true, because she put in overtime and we paid her overtime. I mean, everything what she worked for, she got paid. Can you have that? Do you have proof this is like a card that she working more than 40 hours a year and that she didn't get paid? It's the first time I hear about it. She did put in overtime and she got paid her overtime without approval. If she wants to work overtime, it needs approved by the board. She did put it in and she got paid. And remember, later we heard about it.
Representative Cordelli?
If I just follow up on the 40 cent, in addition to the line items or position lines that you pointed out where it didn't seem to be the 40 cents. On this sheet, we have a 2013 rate listed, but I have a sheet from last year, last January, which has all the hourly rates, and some of them don't match from this January 2000 sheet to the 2013 sheet listed here. So I don't know if, people are getting raises outside this. These are non-union, part-time secretary, witness, victim witness, the advocate, finance manager.
Can I just,
Yeah.
if you're looking at January of 2013,
Yep,
that was, because when you approved the budget in March, then the increases went into effect.
okay, so.
So that could have been last year's worksheet,
Okay,
that
so-
it was really based on what was approved in March of 2012 to January 2013. That's what would have come off of before the increase
Okay, I would think then it would be uniform and not just scattered position by
I
position.
don't know, I'd have to see what you're
Right.
looking at.
And I guess my other question, that when we give out these across-the-board increases, are there employee evaluations involved in any of this?
No. It's just an across-the-board increase.
Just straight across the board, there's no employee evaluations?
I mean, they do
There-
evaluations, but it doesn't affect.
There is evaluations done on everybody has a job description.
Okay, so having a job description and evaluation are two separate things.
Doesn't affect
But,
their pay.
so even if you're doing a lousy job according to your evaluation, you still get the 40 cents increase?
Correct.
Representative Chandler?
I just need to get back to the human service generalists. At some point, I'd like to know what that is, but that's another time.
Go ahead. Well, you can ask.
No, that's fine. But my point is, the explanation is given for what could be conceived as a substantial raise. Is it just he or she went from hourly to a salary? Well, everyone that's now getting an hour, I guess they'd all want to go to salary if we're gonna give them that kind of a raise. I just don't understand, that's the logic. Why, I mean, you can raise the hourly rate if that's what you want to do, but why are we raising it up just because she's gone to a salary? You think because she's working these extra hours?
It's
Mr. Groot, would you like to answer that question, please?
it's a lot of extra hours that she's been putting in.
May I have to say, we had an attorney with a background in employment law, who specialized in employment law, and she did research, and she came up with the amount of $36,600.
So, what's the point?
So I don't know why we come up with this rate.
You want to add to that?
Well,
Lynette?
just a moment. So what does this new hourly rate of $20 an hour equate to?
May I? Based on a study of the needs of the department, and then going out across all of the counties, doing a survey as to if the HR generalists are salaried, most all of them are throughout all of the counties, and we are still on the lower end. And yes, previous HR Director Sullivan did do a report to the commissioners. At that time, she raised up the generalists' amount, and then again, we had those increases last year for the base salary. So when I did this revised request for creating this exempt position, because there is an extraordinary amount of hours that are worked in the HR department, to bring it up to $19.49. And actually, I could talk to Kathy. I was not going to have the 40-cent increase on top of that. It was only, so we do need to correct that. It's only the increase, not include, the 40-cent increase would be a part of the $19.49, not additional 40 cents on top of that.
No, it's at 1949.
Okay.
There's no additional.
Okay.
If I multiply that out, right, wrong, or indifferent, it's around 41.6 for the year.
So based on the hours worked, and then to have her be at a level similar to the rest of the generalists throughout the counties, based on the amount of work and hours put in, that was a fair and a reasonable amount.
Okay, thank you. You talk about going to salary, but it still shows he's getting paid hourly, even just at a higher rate, $2 more an hour.
Yeah.
I think,
What's your
I think they
point?
just did that for everybody.
She is getting you're proposing a salary.
Yep.
And that amount is?
41.6.
Whatever transfers over from 1949 an hour.
That's, yeah, close to 41.6. Okay. Yes, Representative Conti.
Thank you. Perhaps I could ask the commissioners, if I go to maintenance, working supervisor farm, which would be the second largest increase, which is at $3,000. was that first conceived to be 40 cents an hour? Well, he's salaried. You tell me how we got there.
There are two people on the complex that got an extra increase. One was a farm supervisor, $3,000. The other one was HR, which was in a contract that would come in July. And there was an increase for her. Those are the only two that received any kind of a so-called merit increase other than the 40 cents. And the 40 cents was included and not in addition to.
Thank you. I understand those are two that were increased. My question is, could you tell me the increase on, well, I always have an issue with how we label things. We list it under maintenance, but it's supervisor of the farm. But $3,000 increase, and where was the rationale behind that? That's performance review, and the $3,000 is a merit pay increase?
They don't
That's
have a
correct.
merit pay program
Well,
yet.
the commissioner just told me it was for merit
I know,
pay.
but they don't. They don't have a merit pay program.
Apparently we do at the time.
Well, what is it then? So it's a salary.
Those two people deserve everything that we can give them. They do an awful lot of work for this county.
Does that imply that the people don't?
Yeah. I would assume that's what it means. Anyhow,
For clarification.
Yes.
Perhaps there was a change in job description, perhaps
There
the
was.
duties of that position were not clearly defined in the past.
one would
and
think that the
I
commissioners.
just wanted to bring it up.
One would
that-
think that the commissioners would have told us that, if that's exactly why they gave him the increase, but they said it was for merit, and that he works hard.
Okay, I'm not going to continue, but next time I would appreciate being able to complete my thought.
Well, all I'm suggesting, Representative Tyser, is that when Representative McConkey asked the question, they could have provided that answer. And I don't disagree with you
There was a job change.
on any of it. Representative
Thank you.
Cornell.
I would just like to make the observation that I believe that there are a lot of hardworking people in the county. And so to say that these two people work hard, I don't think is fair to all the other employees who are not getting a several $1,000 increase in pay. So I think that's an unfair comment to the rest of the staff at the county.
You
My
may.
understanding is we'll probably get a chance to vote on this, won't we?
Yes,
Thank you.
yes, we will. Again, just a moment, please. I would ask each of our subcommittee chairmen to think about this, look at the history of the raises, and determine whether or not the 40 cents is appropriate for 2014. Okay.
Depending on the average, Madam Chairman, I believe it's 1.6% increase.
If I could, we had, I think, some discussion on the subcommittee also that, and I know in previous experience, we've done it elsewhere, for something like this, perhaps someone gets the 40 cents if they do not get or claim medical benefits. If someone's getting additional benefits, maybe they get a 30-cent an hour increase. So I think you can do a differentiated payment based on what other benefits, maybe even cell phones, if the person gets. So that's just something to be considered.
That's a good idea.
Are there any other comments on,
Well, if I might add,
Sure.
I would assume you asked the subcommittees to direct their thoughts to whether the 40 cents is okay, which doesn't concern me so much, but I would obviously
Oh.
assume they would be looking at these other exorbitant increases too, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Representative Crawford?
I just wanted everyone to look and see that our sheriff didn't ask or isn't getting anything.
No, the sheriff can't.
He can't.
He's statutory
Oh.
salary limited.
That's too bad.
We'll figure that out in June. April, or whatever we do.
That's not, okay. Yeah, so anyhow, please, after you talk this through with your subcommittee chairman, or with your subcommittee, I'd ask that you email the responses to all of the delegation, along with the commissioners, so that we all know where we stand and what kind of things, so that we can come to grips with this. Okay, Town of Ossipee taxes. I still think it's foolish that we pay taxes to the town of Ossipee, but I'm not going to argue that
May I
today.
make a comment on that before you start, please?
No, I'm not gonna argue that
No, I'm not
today.
gonna argue either, but I just want to point out a couple of things.
Okay.
I saw this on your agenda. I didn't know what you're up to.
I'm not up to anything.
So anyway, I stopped into the town this morning before I came here and got the tax information.
Yep.
You pay current use taxes on the land.
That's correct.
You don't pay taxes on the building. The only thing you really pay taxes on are the water department. Your total taxes for your year are $6,739. $5,506 of that is the water department. The rest of it's on current use of the land. There's no county building. And I think that's fair.
Oh, you do?
Okay.
For 2 months.
Well, that's where I'm going. And the answer is it's not. Okay? All right.
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
if I could, I did check with a couple other counties, and they do pay taxes to their town where their land is located.
Current use.
And there's an RSA that says they have to pay the taxes. I haven't got that RSA.
Okay.
Came out of Cheshire County.
Yeah. I got this wonderful map, and Ann made this for us. And what our concern was, as I said, I wasn't going to discuss whether or not we should pay the tax, but how we should pay the tax. As it stands right now, it comes out of the commissioner's budget, and that's why we were discussing it. But the commissioner's budget is totally taxes. Okay, so I'm not sure why someone in Wolfboro should be paying taxes to the town of Ossipee. Not a lot, but in some way, shape, or form. So what we discussed at our last meeting on Monday was having the organization that is responsible for the land or the waterworks or whatever actually show that cost against that department. And the way that it works out is the current use taxes would be paid out of the farm, which is relatively small. This purple area here is the septic field for the nursing home. So the nursing home should be charged the taxes on this little piece of land, and I don't know what they are, it's up here someplace. And the waterworks thing should be paid out of the water side, because that is an expense on the water. And this is just another reason why we are recommending that we try to go to an enterprise fund for the water, so that we can keep track of all of these costs and not
I agree with
have,
you. And I believe that little piece you were talking about, you pay $3 for it.
I don't know what it is.
No, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
it's, yeah.
But that is, it's on the board, so that's kind of where we left it, and if there's, so if we could make those transfers, it would be okay. Anybody have any disagreement on that? Okay.
If we could go, Madam Chairman?
Mm-hmm.
So it would seem to be that that's going to be a recommendation that's going to come out. So it would appear that there would be another expense of $5,700 on the water side. And at what point are the commissioners going, as a committee, have asked for the last time there was a rate schedule and how they figure that. And so now it would appear that they're gonna have another $5,700 expense. Commissioners in the works of providing that for us?
Right.
I don't know.
I have that information broken out for you,
Great.
if you want it right now. Or at the end.
At some point, I'd appreciate it.
You can just give that to the farm committee.
Well, just to further, so I guess the logical conclusion will be that this 5,700 for the taxes will be included in water rates.
That's what I hear.
So I just wanted to bring that up.
Including ours.
Right.
I just wanted to comment on that, because when I did try to put that all together, based on tax map and lot numbers, I'm trying to figure out, and I wrote on the question mark on the bill itself, what buildings, because it's not just the water system buildings that are over there. Is there a sheriff's shooting range over there? And for the majority of it, I don't think the land is used by anybody. So I don't know how we can just put it all on the farm. I don't know, it's your decision, but I had some question as to how that all came down. And the purple piece, that 21 acres over on the other side of Kenneth Road, I thought, and somebody can express a difference, was that used to have the septic system on, but when the new nursing home was built, that it did not?
It's the drainage.
Is it the drainage? Okay. And I just didn't know why that changed the tax rate. I looked at that amount of current use applications that the county had made, and it was all done at a time when there were different tax maps, so it all comes out pretty much the same as what is here. I just questioned what buildings were on there and who used them.
So do we need to vote that?
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
Since this is a relatively new concept, I would just ask that we have time till the next discussion and the subcommittees meet to, figure out what the impacts are and have a sense of whether or not we want to support it.
Sure. The $3 is an enterprise cost.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Exorbitant.
Exorbitant. Okay.
It won't change the budget, it just changes the allocation.
It changes the water rates for.
It may or may not.
Right.
It may or may not.
Got it.
Don't know.
Hmm.
That's up to, I mean, it's, anyhow, that's one of the reasons why I feel we should go to an enterprise fund for the water. So that we can track it, we know what's in fact going on. And I think that Kathy sent me a different figure for revenue from the waterworks than what was actually in the budget, is that correct? Yeah, I think it was some other number, but that doesn't matter right now. Okay. Does anyone have, yes?
I know, you're about to get into public comment.
No, I'm not. I got a couple other things that aren't on the agenda.
Okay, then I would, when you're finished with that, before public comment, can I just?
You can speak right now.
Okay. Madam Chair, I would like to initiate a discussion, and I probably will make a motion. What I'd like for the delegation to consider would be the formation of a subcommittee that would examine in detail the feasibility of taking on a county manager here or director, and then I'd like to talk a little bit more about it. Carroll County is looking at a budget of $28 million. Most towns don't even come close to that, and they have their town managers. I think for 30 or 40% of 1% of the overall county budget, we could very successfully hire a county manager. My observation has been, and I'm not meaning to denigrate anyone, but I am certainly one member of this delegation who really does not believe that this county is well managed. I think just looking at the salary sheets alone should reinforce that. And again, I'm not in a position that we should make a decision today, but I really would like to have a subcommittee formed to examine this in detail and then come back with a recommendation to the full delegation.
Representative Butler.
Thank you. I would ask for an update on the performance audit process and what we expect to come out of that in what time frame.
Well, I'll address and then I'll pass on to my colleague also. We have a contract that's been sent to us from Matrix, and commissioners didn't meet last week, and it'll be signed. My understanding is this week. And one of the actions that we're asking.
Oh, wait! Don't tell me you haven't seen it. Who'd you send it to, Glenn?
No, we have it here, the commissioners haven't met. They
Okay.
didn't meet last week, and I only received it from Representative Cordelli last week, so they will be meeting on Wednesday, and they will see it, and because it was discovered last Monday that we hadn't gotten it in our office, so Representative Cordelli sent it.
So it will be on the agenda
Yeah,
for
this-
Wednesday?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
all right, thank you.
And the time frame?
Matrix is ready to sign it whenever the county signs, so I haven't had discussions with them about when they could actually start the audit. I know they're working in Rockingham County.
But what was it, how many weeks?
The full length of the scope of effort would be 12 weeks, I believe it was.
And follow-up, do you expect out of this performance audit that one of the things that may be recommended or commented upon is the need for a manager for the county?
Commented on, it's not necessarily one of our driving bullet points of what we'd asked for.
Thank you.
If I could just add to that.
Sure.
Matrix, in our telephone conversation with them, did realize without any comment on our part that Rockingham and Carroll County seem to be the only counties in the state without an administrator position.
Yes, Representative Conklin.
I would support the subcommittee motion. Subcommittee doesn't have to meet until some date, called by the committee chair at that time. So I believe it's going to be an inevitable outcome that's going to come out of here anyways. So I would support Representative Smith's recommendation to form a subcommittee.
Was that a motion?
Let me make the motion at the discretion of the chair to form a subcommittee to examine the feasibility of hiring a county manager.
Second.
Okay.
So may I just ask a question?
You may ask too.
If the opinions expressed so far are that it's inevitable, then is there any need to study it?
That's a good question. Representative Lavender?
I think there's a need to study it just to make sure that we've gotten all the issues out on the table. I mean, just because we all, or some of us think we need to have a county manager, until you talk it through, you sometimes miss the issues.
Did you have a follow-up?
I understand totally.
Oh. Did you have a follow-up question?
No, thank you.
Okay.
I'm not so sure there's a sense of inevitability about it. I think at this moment, it's really an attempt to gather in a full job description, what the responsibilities would be, what the expectations of this manager would be, and that's all. And then you come back with that type of information, and you can make an informed decision as to whether you want to go forward with that or not. Like I say, it's a $28 million budget. I think you're looking at 30 or 40% of 1% of your budget might be realistic. That's what it's going to cost to hire this person. In my opinion, it's something we really ought to look at. I think we're getting to the point here that you get what you pay for, frankly, and I think there's opportunities here to make a difference. Why does Carroll County, as an example, have to be the last to do everything? Every other county in New Hampshire seems to have a manager. They all seem to be doing great, and we sit here year in and year out arguing about mundane issues on the budget. This salary sheet, I think, is disgraceful, really, that just to suggest that every position in the county gets 40 cents. I'm just picking out one little thing here, and basically to say no one is held accountable, everyone gets the same raise. To me, it's insane. So I would really like to push this a tad and see what we come up with in the investigatory phase, then come back to the full delegation and see what you want to do with it. If that makes sense, and I hope it does.
Representative Chairman?
I guess I missed something where it was becoming inevitable we were gonna hire a manager. I certainly hope we're a long way from doing that. I mean, we got a problem now with that tax. You hire a manager, what do you think, what do you think's gonna happen then? Those people aren't there to cut budgets, they're there to.
I would hope, Gene,
they're their
really,
own
I
mess,
would really
you know?
hope that a good town manager could more than compensate their salary in programs that could be initiated here.
And where has that happened?
In a number of things.
Yeah, never.
Fuel procurement, for one.
No, I
There's
mean,
all sorts of stuff.
Where else has it happened in towns and cities?
Well,
It doesn't happen.
I could comment on that. At Ossipee, a number of years ago, we had a town manager. And when you have a town manager with the selectmen have very little control about what's going on other than firing the town manager. Really, seriously. And things got out of hand a little bit, so they fired the town manager and they went back to the system they got now where the 3 selectmen do it. So I'm not saying that's necessary, it happens, but that's the type of thing that you're gonna have to look at.
And I mean, I'll sit here and argue continuously, but we have three managers. And the things I don't agree with, I'll talk to them about it, but nonetheless, that's what we elect them to do.
Representative Butler?
Like I say, I don't believe that it's a sense of inevitability. Let's call it a fact-finding, and at this point. That's all we're proposing.
And I just want to say that as much as I don't disagree that this would be a good subcommittee and a good piece of the analysis of where we need to go, I disagree that we don't have commissioners who are working hard to produce a good budget and a good product. And if you look at the departments that we have and the functioning level at which they are performing, that we don't have decent management. There are always ways of improving, and there are ways of changing things that we don't like or don't agree with, as has been recommended today with the way we look at the budget in certain ways. But I think it is unfair to say that the commissioners are not doing a decent job.
Representative McConkey?
Thank you, and Jim Chandler was out of the room at the moment. The word inevitable was used by myself. So I wouldn't want to leave my fellow colleague hanging out there with the word inevitable. The system we have right now does not work. Does not work. And when I use the word inevitable, I'm saying this system's not working, and we inevitably have to go to a system that works. Whether that's a town manager, or excuse me, a county manager, or whether that's commissioners with more business base, the system doesn't work. And I apologize if inevitable was a word that was my own comment.
Representative Crawford?
Is the word manager and administrator, is the county have a distinction, because towns do? So whether I'm for it or against it, at this point, I would never, I personally would not vote for a manager. I would consider an administrator, because an administrator is just someone who works at the will of the commissioners and doesn't have the power to fire anyone. The commissioners still have that power. So if the study was going to look at a manager, I wouldn't be in favor of any type of a manager, let me put it that way.
In my mind, I viewed the terms almost as synonymous. But again, that would be a product of the subcommittee coming back as to an administrator and a manager, what the responsibilities are, what they do. All of those things could be explored. I don't have the answers to that right now. You know. But I think that is something we really ought to take a hard look at.
I would request that someone propose an amendment that says administrator as opposed to manager.
I'll make that
Because
motion.
I think that is the term that is used throughout all of the counties.
I would make that motion.
You second that?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion about the amendment?
Just let Representative Merrill know before we take a vote.
We're just gonna do a hands on it.
Good.
To amend
Form
the-
a subcommittee.
Okay.
We're making you the county manager.
Yeah.
Under,
County manager is
Yes,
out,
and-
administrator is in.
yeah, we're changing the word manager to administrator.
Makes sense.
Okay.
That's what we did.
All those in favor, show of hands, please. Okay, opposed? All right, one. Okay, you got the vote?
How many do we have?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in favor, 1 opposed. Okay, is there any further discussion on the motion?
One item, just a suggestion that we might collectively and individually consider how we as delegation members might be more supportive of the commissioners and the commissioners' role, as well as the department heads, while we're discussing changing duties and roles.
Any further comment? Okay,
Susan didn't sign.
I guess we should take a vote on the motion to form a subcommittee to, how does it read?
To determine the feasibility of hiring a town administrator.
A county administrator.
At the discretion of the chair.
Okay.
You get to pick the subcommittee.
Oh, yeah, okay, fine.
You want a roll?
Do we need a roll call?
I think it will be 10 to 1.
Okay. All those in favor? Raise your hand. Opposed? 10 to 1. So we will form the subcommittee, and if anyone is interested in serving on that committee, I would ask that you send me an email to that effect, and we'll...
I'll be interested, I'll tell you right now.
Okay. All right.
I'll volunteer to
Yeah,
chair.
Me too.
Chairman of it.
Okay.
You're good.
I'd also like to do
Sounds like a delegation.
It's going to be the whole delegation. And Mark, will you?
it, please.
Glenn?
Pardon? Yeah, I got it. So I've got Steve, Jean, Ed, Glenn, and Mark.
Would you add me, please?
Put me on that too.
Okay, I'll tell you what, it appears that everyone on the delegation wants to be on this subcommittee.
I don't need to be on this.
Except for Representative Crawford.
I've got a lot to do.
How about Representative Nelson?
I don't care one way or the other.
Okay, and we have one that doesn't care one way or the other, and we have 4 people absent. So, that's
If
it.
you appoint the chair, he can send it to everyone, and whoever wants to can show up.
So, Jean, I think that, Representative Chandler, I think that since you are on the negative side, it's probably not appropriate to appoint you as the chairman.
No.
But
Are you saying this is, see, it's inevitable.
But I do.
No, that's okay, I understand.
But I do think that it is appropriate that we have a voice of many years of experience, much more than all of us put together in regards to the county. So, Steve, did you want to chair this?
I'd be delighted.
Okay, thank you. All right, is there any other business to
And
be?
it's not inevitable, I just want to point out.
Is there any other business to be brought?
Yeah.
I do, oh,
If I could just hand out 2 things.
sure. I do
Or
have
maybe
one
3
issue.
things if Kathy's here. I had been taking a different look at the budget and the historical budget, and I just wanted to pass those out for your consideration as we move forward. And Kathy has another one when she returns.
Okay. All right. So you'll look at this and we'll talk about it?
Yeah.
Okay. So, was that all you wanted to do, was hand it out today, Glenn?
Yes.
Okay. All right. The minutes from our last meeting.
So moved.
Could I have a motion to approve the minutes? Second, any comments? I think that they were fine, so we'll do that. And the final thing that I have is, oh, everybody in favor of the minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
Madam Chair, just for a point of order, I guess, or parliamentary, whatever it is, do we need to go into delegation? Okay.
Yep, we need to go into convention. Okay,
Move to go into convention?
no, not yet. No, I've got. Yeah, I can do that. Okay, at our last meeting, if you remember, we had voted to expend $2,000 for the 3 commissioners to receive legal assistance in the right to know case. And our motion went on to say that they would hire 1 attorney. For whatever reason, that did not work out as we had anticipated. And so, I would like to ask that we, obviously you can't divide 2,000 by 3 particularly evenly. But I would like to ask that someone make a motion to change the dollars to be expended to $2,100 with the understanding that each commissioner would be allocated $700 for the legal fees.
So moved.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Is there discussion?
Sure.
Is that a reasonable amount, $700?
Well, that was where we were. And so that's why, that, we were at the 2,000, and if you split that up,
This is strictly, this is strictly for attorney fees, right?
that's correct. Right.
I just, yes, I don't understand why it's not possible for one person to represent all three commissioners, although I understand that there's a difference of opinion and willingness to work together. So I will vote against the motion.
Okay. Are there any other comments?
Question?
Yes.
If somebody wants to do it on their own, if we go with your motion there, or your suggestion, do the, say, two who want to go with the system that's in place, do they get all the 2,000?
No.
No. They get 1,400.
They get 1,400. And it's only, that's what they spend.
Okay.
Hopefully it won't be that much.
I have something to add, but
Just-
if two have one law firm, is it not fair that you need two law firms, they can split it in two?
Seems to me that they
I
can do
think
whatever
if you
they want.
divide it to three,
Yeah.
you have to give them then 3 law firms, there
that's
are
fine.
2 law firms.
You say what you were.
I'm just saying that no matter how the motion, whether the motion is supported or not, that if 2 people choose to work together or 3 people choose to work together, that's your decision.
Representative Merrill?
I was just gonna say, I'm not familiar with all that's going on here, and I don't really hear people, but the thing that bothers me, or should we be looking at the future of having or trying to get some kind of insurance policy that would cover people, because who in the world in their right mind would ever run for an office when they could lose everything they got if they make a mistake in the office?
I spoke to Kathy about that. As it stands right now, I understand Primex does not cover this, and that's who we have our insurance with. It would behoove the commissioners, in my opinion, to check with NHMA, which I believe does provide D&O insurance. But I don't know. I don't know what, I agree.
And I apologize, because I had agreed to make a phone call, which I made, but it didn't get anywhere. Yeah.
Yep.
But I just am dumbfounded to think that they can't. You're just going by Primex telling you they're not gonna cover it? and
That's
you-
right. We had a
You
meeting.
called insurance?
We had a meeting 2 weeks ago, and then again last week. All the commissioners in the state know now that they are not covered under Primex for 91A, the right to know law. They came down and they explained it to all the commissioners. They're all upset, and like somebody said, who wants to run for commissioner if you're gonna be sued?
Well, I just, this is none of my business, because you're the commissioners, as we tried to point out, my lone vote, but I'd call Primex and cancel a policy today and get a new one tomorrow. I mean, that's ridiculous.
George McGaleris at our meeting stated that he wanted an umbrella policy, $5 million. And once he put down county commissioner on the application, they wouldn't insure him. He went to 4 different insurance companies.
They won't do it for selectmen.
They won't do it for selectmen either?
Primex won't.
I would ask, it's up to them.
Yeah, I know, I got that.
You know,
Just-
behooves,
Well, it's up to us, but the county would pay. I mean, it's gonna be a tremendous amount according to Primex. If they wanted to pool everybody, all the counties would pay in,
Well, I would
it was a
suggest,
tremendous fee.
I would suggest that you check with the other insurance company that handles government officials. So, and figure out what you want to do.
I have done that, it's not covered either. because
They do
it's
not.
non-compensatory.
Does the county have E&O, or does it just apply to the private individuals? Can they, in other words, if they sue both the county and the individual, neither one has insurance?
No, the county has insurance, but the individuals do not. Okay. Yes.
One additional item, if,
Where
where you were in your agenda?
No, we haven't voted on this.
I'm not gonna say anything.
Okay? So,
Oh,
we're,
I'm sorry, right.
yeah.
And
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Showing of support in Carroll County District 3 and my fellow representatives, which we share. And for exact same reasons, I would be voting against. If we're going to pay one fee for this, it should be using one attorney.
Thank you. All right, all those in favor of increasing the amount for the attorneys to $2,100 and each person getting a third? Was that how it read? All those in favor, please raise your hand.
4.
Is it, wait a minute, I'm still not clear. Is this just to raise the money, or did you tack something else on the end there that was mentioned?
To be split
Okay.
in 3 ways.
All right, this is not what was suggested, that we have one attorney raise it.
No. All
So
those,
That was, you're in favor of that,
Of what?
of this motion,
Just to raise it, yes.
and split it in 3?
Each get 700.
well,
I guess so.
it's a total, it's a total of $2,100, okay?
Yeah.
And so I think someone made the comment, if it doesn't cost one lawyer the $1,400, then it should be, it's still to be used for the defense of this private thing. So, I mean, all right, so could we have a show of hands for those that are in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Opposed? 3, 4.
No, I
No,
got
no,
my hand up.
Tom.
Oh, sorry.
Opposed?
Leaning
4.
too far.
Okay, is there, oh, yes. I assume that everyone is at least getting my email. So, and, however, I guess that there were some problems still with the semi-official list of contact lists and phone numbers and so on. So if you could just check your name off if everything's okay, and if it's not,
It came with the minutes of the last time they were sent out.
yeah. But just check and make sure that your information is correct. If it's wrong, fix it. Yes?
If I could just bring up one other topic
Yep.
briefly. There seems to be, well, there was to be a financial audit for 2011, 2012. A vendor was selected back in July. And my understanding is that they have not been able to complete their assignment because of missing information. That might involve financial reports for 2011, 2012 that have not been done, are not complete. I don't know what the exact status of that is, and I would like to hear where we stand with that, because we should be reaching the point where we're doing it to financial reports for 2013. So I think there were implications there.
If I could, Madam Chairman, the status right now is the firm that we hired out of Portland, Maine, is waiting for the notes for 2011, otherwise he has all that information.
The notes?
If we don't, the notes that was done by the financial person, John Lyford, that was hired, that we've had for a number of years. He is, from what I understand, is sick. No excuse, but if we don't get the notes, then they will create notes to get that 11th year 2011 audit finished. Same is true for 2012.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, someone is following up with this man.
That's right. Yep.
And he has given you a time frame as to when I mean, is he so sick that he can't do anything? I mean, heaven forbid, yes.
I
Representative.
think you're pretty close. He's made several, apparently several commitments to Mr. Bulio to get his information, and he hasn't gotten it there. He just got it there last week, except for the notes that have to be filled in. And we're in the process of trying to find out whether those notes are something that we have to give him, or whether Mr. Lightfoot already has it. And at that point, we can move forward.
It's my understanding that 25% is still missing, according to Folio.
And how are those moving along, Asha? Representative, or Commissioner Kim?
25% of the information is missing.
Right. And how is that moving along, since you're
I
aware of
didn't-
it?
I actually called Mr. Lyford. I didn't hear anything back. So I actually sent an email to Bolio and asked him what did he receive, and he said he did receive a package, and still 25% is missing.
And is it all with Mr. Lightfoot? Or whatever the man's name is?
I don't know where it is precisely, because if I talk to Mr. Lyford, he said it needs to come from the county office. If I talk to the county office, it said we have a form and he has it. But I still don't understand why adjustment we make in the fall of 2013 on financial statements in 2011. Why are we still working on 2011 and 12? The book should be closed. We should be all working in 2013.
If I might just point out that this gentleman evidently was paid in full for both years, 2011, 2012, so I don't know why there is missing information. And as I indicated last year, it would be my hope that the commissioners would be going out on an RFP for someone to do these financial reports for 2013, as this individual has done it for 6-7 years in a row now, based on a signature by the commissioners of a letter that he sends. So it'd be my recommendation to the commissioners that they look for, to do an RFP for someone to perform this service for the county.
Okay, this does not sound real good. So, Commissioners, I hope that you can get that straightened around quickly, very quickly. Okay, could I have a motion to go to convention?
Motion to move into convention.
Second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it appears we have 3 motions, is that correct? The first motion is to approve the minutes.
Yep.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The second motion was to form a subcommittee for looking at the county administrator. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And the third motion was to raise the fee, or raise the amount of money for the commissioner's legal defense on individual charges.
Comeau.
Okay, second?
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor? Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
It went
7-4.
7-4? Okay. Could I have a motion to come out of convention?
Move to come out of convention.
Second.
Second. Are there any public comments? Seeing none? Oops. Go ahead, Ms. Brown.
Excuse me, does anyone know when Mr. Lightfoot was hired?
We can find that out.
You worked for the original auditing.
Okay, well, that's a question for the commissioners. Okay, is there any other public comment? Seeing none, could I have a motion to adjourn? Representative Merrill, second. Anyone opposed? All right, for the good of the order, we'll adjourn. And Tom and Glenn, would you like to go get some lunch and then come back?
Sure. That's your whiteboard presentation. They're awesome.
Yeah.